Gardens that speak without words. The morning mist clings to moss-covered stepping stones at Saihō-ji, Kyoto's famed moss temple. A single maple leaf, tinged crimson, drifts across the still surface of the pond. Somewhere, unseen, a bamboo shishiodoshi tips forward, sending a soft knock into the quiet. To an untrained eye, this is simply a place of peace. But in Japan, gardens were never just about beauty. They were living compositions, designed with the precision of an architect and the soul of a poet. Every curve of the path, every placement of stone, every choice of tree or flower was deliberate. More than landscapes, they were narratives, books without words, scrolls unrolled beneath your feet. From the raked sand of Ryoanji's Zen garden to the vast strolling grounds of Kenroku-en in Kanazawa, each was a journey through nature, history, and philosophy. Today, we walk these gardens not as casual visitors, but as readers of a story told in stone, water, and green. By the end, you might never see a Japanese garden the same way again. The storytelling roots. The story of Japanese garden design begins in the Heian period, 794 to 1185. Influenced by Tang Dynasty China, aristocrats in Kyoto created gardens inspired by scenes from classical Chinese poetry and painting. Historical records suggest that at the Heian Imperial Palace, ponds were sometimes designed to evoke famous waterways from Chinese literature, such as the Qiang River, a symbol of elegance and refinement. As centuries passed, Japanese designers developed their own landscape language. By the Kamakura period, 1185 to 1333, Zen Buddhism had taken root. Gardens shifted from recreations of real landscapes to abstract symbolic worlds intended for contemplation. At Tenryū-ji, founded in 1339 by Shogun Ashikaga Takauji, the Zen priest Muso Soseki designed a garden where a pond and the borrowed scenery of Arashiyama formed a living scroll painting, a story that unfolded as one walked. By the Muromachi period, 1336 to 1573, gardens like Ryoanji in Kyoto distilled nature into pure symbolism. 15 rocks set in raked gravel are widely believed to suggest islands in a boundless sea, encouraging meditation on the unseen. In the Edo period, 1603 to 1868, the Kaiyu Shiki strolling garden emerged. Kenroku-en in Kanazawa, begun in the 1620s by the Maeda clan, became a masterpiece of narrative design, referencing landscapes from across Japan. Each bend of its path revealed a new scene, a bridge to an island recalling Horai, the Isle of Immortals, a pond evoking Lake Biwa. Pathways as journeys. In Japanese gardens, the path is never just a route, it's the pacing of the story. The design term, roji, meaning dewy ground, refers to the humble, uneven paths leading to a tea house. These stepping stones were often set irregularly, encouraging the visitor to slow down, focus on each step, and leave behind worldly distractions. This approach was refined in tea gardens by masters such as Sen-no Rikyu in the late 1500s. In Kaiyu Shiki strolling gardens of the Edo period, the path became a cinematic device. At Kenroku-en in Kanazawa, developed over generations by the Maeda clan beginning in the 1620s, the path encircles Kasumi Gaike Pond. Each section reveals a new scene. The Kotoji Toro stone lantern standing over the water, a tea house perched above a gentle slope, or the Gankobashi bridge of stone slabs resembling geese in flight. At Korakuen in Okayama, completed in 1700 under Lord Ikeda Tsunemasa, The path circuit is often interpreted as a metaphor for life. You might begin in wide, open lawns, symbolizing youth, pass into shaded woodland for maturity, then arrive at tranquil ponds for old age and reflection. Another technique, mitate, allowed designers to recreate distant or legendary landscapes within their grounds. At Tenryū-ji in Takamatsu, views are said to evoke famous sites like Mount Fuji or Matsushima Bay. Scaled down but instantly recognizable to a visitor steeped in cultural references. By controlling the route, designers shape the visitor's emotional arc, building tension with enclosed, narrow passages, then releasing it with sudden wide vistas. Much like a playwright, the garden maker decided not only what you would see, but when you would see it. Rocks and water as symbols. Rocks are the bones of a Japanese garden. Chosen for their shape, color, and weathering, they carry symbolic weight. In Shinto tradition, certain stones are revered as miegakure, sacred dwellings of the gods. In Zen gardens, stones can stand for mountains, islands, or mythical places. The most famous example is the rock garden of Ryoanji in Kyoto, designed in the late 1500s during the Muromachi period. 15 stones are arranged in raked white gravel, but from any vantage point, one is always hidden. This deliberate imperfection is often interpreted as reflecting the Zen concept of wabi-sabi, beauty in incompleteness and impermanence. Water, too, tells stories. In gardens like Katsura Imperial Villa, built in the early 1700s in Kyoto, ponds and streams flow in carefully planned courses, often widening into calm expanses before narrowing again, a metaphor for life's changing pace. In karesansui, or dry gardens, water is implied through patterns raked into gravel, suggesting waves, currents, or ripples. Some arrangements are believed to reference specific legends. A waterfall in the gardens of Tenryū-ji, for example, is said to represent the Dragon Gate of Chinese mythology, where a carp leaping the falls becomes a dragon, a symbol of perseverance and transformation. In this symbolic language, even a single stone can hold layers of meaning, and a pond can represent the entire ocean. Plants as seasons and poetry. Japanese gardens are living calendars. Designers use plants not only for their form and color, but for their cultural and poetic associations. Cherry blossoms, sakura, herald spring, and symbolize life's fleeting beauty, a theme celebrated since the Heian period in poetry and court culture. Plum blossoms, ume, which bloom in late winter, represent resilience and purity. Maples, momiji, turn brilliant shades of red and gold in autumn, embodying the bittersweet beauty of change. Evergreens like pine, matsu, symbolize longevity and steadfastness, while bamboo signifies flexibility and strength. Plant selection often draws from classical literature. The iris beds of Horikiri Shobuen in Edo are linked to the Ise Monogatari, where a traveler composes a poem using the syllables of Kakitsubata, iris. Pampas grass, Suzuki, is planted for moon viewing festivals, recalling verses in the Manyoshu, Japan's oldest poetry anthology. In Kaiyu-shiki gardens, seasonal plantings are arranged so that as you walk, you experience the year's cycle in miniature. Cherry blossoms in one area, summer irises by the pond, autumn maples on the hillside, and winter camellias near the tea house. This seasonal storytelling encourages repeat visits and ensures the garden is never static. Its chapters change with the months. Framing views and hidden scenes. One of the most elegant techniques in Japanese garden design is Shakkei, or borrowed scenery. At Tenryū-ji in Kyoto, the garden famously incorporates the backdrop of the Arashiyama Mountains, blending them seamlessly into the composition. The effect makes the garden feel limitless, uniting cultivated and wild landscapes. Equally important is miegakure, hide and reveal. Paths are designed so that scenes appear gradually. At Katsura Imperial Villa, a turn in the path might suddenly open to a view of a pond framed by pines, while another bend hides a tea house until you're almost at its door. This interplay of concealment and revelation mirrors the structure of a well-told story. The designer withholds the plot twist until just the right moment. Even-built structures participate in the storytelling. A veranda might frame the pond like a painting, while a moon viewing platform invites you to see the garden under silver light, transforming its mood entirely. The garden as a moral or spiritual lesson. Many Japanese gardens are moral landscapes. In Zen temples like Daitoku-ji, the simplicity of the dry garden is designed to encourage restraint, focus, and acceptance of impermanence. The open gravel sea invites the mind to roam freely, while the rocks anchor thought like points of meditation. Some strolling gardens are interpreted as allegories of life. Kenroku-en in Okayama, for instance, begins with bright open spaces, symbolic of youth, then guides you through shaded enclosed paths, representing maturity and the trials of life, before ending at tranquil waters that suggest the calm of old age. Others are laid out to evoke the Buddhist path to enlightenment. A busy entry courtyard, worldly life, a narrow winding path, discipline and challenge, and finally a serene open garden, spiritual awakening. In every case, the garden becomes more than a place of beauty. It becomes a teacher. Reading the landscape. When you step into a Japanese garden, you're not just walking through nature, you're stepping into a centuries-old story. Every bend in the path, every stone in the moss, every ripple in the pond has been placed with intent. The next time you visit one, whether it's the mossy quiet of Saihō-ji, the vast strolling paths of Kenroku-en, or the borrowed mountain views at Tenryū-ji, pause. Look closely. Ask yourself what scene you've just stepped into, and what chapter might be waiting beyond the next turn. Once you learn to read the landscape, you'll find that the garden speaks without words, and its story stays with you long after you've left. If you enjoyed walking with me through this world of symbolism and design, let me know in the comments what your favorite Japanese garden is, or which one you'd love to visit someday. I read every comment, and your thoughts help guide future episodes. And if you'd like to keep exploring the hidden stories of Japan's history and culture, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next journey. There are many more paths to walk, and many more stories to tell.